You're hanging out in the House of Sunny podcast, where it's always sunny, mostly because of your host, comedian and YouTuber, Sunny Roman. Want to know what Sunny and her friends are thinking about this week? Well, here she is, Sunny Roman.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm here today with Doug and Ashley. Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
Today, we're going to talk about Donald Glover's new controversial music video, or should I say Childish Gambino. That's his musical name. If you haven't seen his new video, it's called This Is America. Go check that out. I'm going to have notes in the YouTube notes. I will have a link to that video. Also, we're going to get into some comedy recommendations and some news headlines. But first, Doug has a real joke for us.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. I recently picked a new primary care doctor. After 2 visits and exhaustive lab tests, he said I was doing fairly well for my age. A little concerned about that comment, I couldn't resist asking him, "You think I'll live to be 80? Doctor responded by asking, "Do you smoke tobacco, drink beer, or wine?" "Oh, no," I replied. "I'm not doing drugs either." So he asked, "Do you eat ribeye steaks and barbecue ribs?" I said, "Well, not much, since my former doctor said all red meat is very unhealthy." "Do you spend a lot of time in the sun, like playing golf, sailing, hiking, or bicycling?" "No, I don't," I said. He asked, "Do you gamble, go on vacations, or have a lot of sex?" "No, I don't," I said. He looked at me and said, "Then why do you give a shit?"
Just give up now. Just end it.
No kidding.
That's a good one.
Isn't it weird that we spend so much time on our kind of like retirement thinking?
Yes.
Where we're all focused on age 75 to 95. Like, we got to make sure we're okay for those years.
Yes.
Like when no one gives a shit about us. You can't think, you can't walk, you can't do anything. We're all saving for that time.
There's something
that's
really,
the time.
There's something really wrong about that. And like a lot of times, one thing I've learned being sick this last couple of years is you get sick and then like a lot of options are just kind of closed to you for a while. You know, I'll probably be better and stuff, but I don't know that I'll ever be the same. It kind of sounds weird. I've been sick so long. I'm getting kind of mentally in a weird place about it. Yeah. Like, will I ever be the same? Will I ever be able to go? Will I ever want to go kite surfing, for example?
No.
You know, I might
you
never.
didn't want to anyways.
I've been sick for 2 years. I'm now middle-aged. Like, I crossed into middle age while sick. And I'm like, I don't know if I'll ever want to go kite surfing. That time of my life where I was like physically willing to take risks and had a lot of energy is kind of over.
Yeah. It happens fast.
It does. So what we're saying is live life now, right?
Everyone tells you that. I've been told that probably 700,000 times.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I've ever really learned that lesson. You probably don't until something happens.
Yeah, you probably don't. And I spent a lot of time in my 20s working a desk job with this like big future in a cube, you know, or an office, but like working for other people in a corporate America. And I'm not saying that's bad for everyone, but I hated it. It was the worst possible lifestyle for me. Not so much the work was kind of fun, but I really hated the lifestyle. And I wish that I could sort of redo that. Think about it I just was putting up with all this misery for these long-term goals. And then I reached those goals and I was like, what the fuck did I do that for? I don't even want this.
Yeah, but sometimes you have to experience something to contrast it with. You would not have known that was not the life path until you actually experienced it.
Well, only if I'd allowed myself to say, I'm miserable. I'm done with this. I'm not going to do this for 5 years to achieve something, you know? This is not for me because I'm unhappy every fucking day.
So you lasted doing that for 5 years?
Yeah, I would say I did it for 6 years. 6 years, 6, 7 years of misery. before I got out and did something completely different.
Yeah.
That's a lot of wasted years.
Yeah.
And they're prime years. Those are the kite surfing years. That's what I'm trying to say. Those are like the years where you should be doing crazy, risky things and traveling. And instead I was like bleary-eyed, working 80 hours a week for somebody else, If I had that kind of time and energy now, putting that into my own company, that kind of effort, I would be like a billionaire.
Well, I think that's definitely the time to take risks.
Yeah.
Because everyone I know that gets above, if you have kids especially, you're sort of shut down from taking abnormal risks. So if you're the kind of person that wants to take risks in life or wants to really achieve something great, you've got to take risks. And that really happens when you're young. In your
20s. That's when you have to take your risks.
You got to do it because as soon as you get older, if it's not health and it's not family, it's not kids, you kind of lose the window of opportunity.
I think you do. I think you just don't have the energy and whatever. And anyway, not that you can't still have major success and everything, but it's just different. It's a different time. I wish I hadn't spent so much of that prime time kind of hating my life every day. That's kind of what I'm trying to say. I wish
you're saying you're a loser.
I wish I would have said, given myself permission to say, you know what, I'm unhappy. That's all that matters. Like today, I don't have to. Everything doesn't have to be based on some 6-year goal. And I think when you're young, that seems tolerable. And the older you get, you think 6 years. I'm not going to spend 6 years miserable. But when you're young, you think, oh, I got to pay my dues. I have to, work hard for this long-term goal, and you're more willing to do that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
but I think it's wrong. So.
I don't. But I mean, there's a certain amount of it you do have to do when you're young. I mean, if you don't have any skills, you have to learn. You have to get some experience. You have to save some money. I mean, everyone has to. I think it's just a different for it, but because right now what I fear is the kids of today hear that and say, oh, okay, I'm 16. I shouldn't have to work at McDonald's. You do have to work at McDonald's for a couple of years.
I had more fun working my McDonald's level jobs as a teenager than I did working my post-college jobs. I enjoyed I was on my feet, you're running around. They're kind of these bursts of time. You're not in some 10, 12, 15-hour daily drudgery. It was just completely different. I don't know. I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I hear you.
One of my favorite jobs as a kid was a manual labor job. It was summer, and I had been working as a cashier at this garden center for 6 months, starting before the Christmas season. And they were taking volunteers for people who wanted to work outside for the summer. And I'm like, me. And of course, you get out there, they hand you a shovel. I was basically planting mums all summer for the fall mum season.
Right.
I was like gardening. It was freaking awesome. And my coworkers were all these crazy drug addicts that were up there at the Hazleton rehab center, the renowned rehab center in Minnesota.
Right.
And they were like these crazy, these guys in rehab from New York. Nice. And I was like 15 or 16 years old, and I'm working with these New York drug addicts. Anyway, it was a great summer. I got suntan. I was like working hard. It was good. And that I liked. I would have done that all day long compared to the shit I did after college. The indoors for 12, 15 hours a day under fluorescent lights in a gray cube, doing the work that some political manager, because they're all political these days in these large companies, some political manager who is an idiot, wants me to do. Nobody recognizing my particular intelligence or ability or or work ethic. Like nobody gave a shit. I was on the ladder and I had to do XYZ to climb the ladder. So it drove me crazy. It wasn't a meritocracy, you know?
But if you were planning mums when you were in your 20s, you probably would have been
I'd be a loser.
Bored by that too, yeah. So
I would be like, what am I doing with my life?
There's no path that ends well for you. Just face it.
All right.
You're unhappy no matter what.
This isn't even the topic of the podcast.
I know.
So thanks for the joke, Doug. If you want to tell us a joke for next week, call our number 707-681-5834. Or if you have a question you want to ask us, you can also call that number and leave it on our voicemail, 707-681-5834. And hey, I'm going to make a pitch here now for our Patreon as well. Support the show at Patreon/House of Sunny. And in a shameless pitch to get you to listen to the whole show, I'm going to tease that I'm going to tell a joke at the end of the show today. You have to listen to the whole show if you don't want to miss it.
Don't fast forward either.
Hey, shh, Doug. Shh.
I know. I keep letting that little secret out. I feel bad, but...
All right. First up, we're going to talk about this new music video that's getting an incredible amount of press. And I mean, it's just controversial. Everybody's talking about it. It was debuted at Saturday Night Live. Donald Glover, who's a comedian, actor, musician, he was the host of Saturday Night Live last Saturday. And he was also the musical guest. So he hosted and was the musical guest. His musical name is Childish Gambino. And do you guys know where he got that name, by the way?
No.
There's a website called the Wu-Tang Clan Name Generator. I'm not kidding. And he put his name in, and this is the name he got out of that.
Oh my
Childish Gambino. And
so how many times did he do it, though?
What, Ashley?
Like, how many times?
You only get one time. If you go in there and put his name in, you get Childish Gambino. So once it generates a name for you, you can't do another one. That's it. That's your freaking Wu-Tang Clan name. So I will put a link to the Wu-Tang Clan name generator in the YouTube notes. And you guys should go over and get your name. I got my name this morning as I was preparing for the show. It's Amateur Ninja.
Ooh. Like it.
Yeah, that's my new Wu-Tang Clan name. Anyway, so he debuted his new video, This Is America. And I don't know how exactly to set this up. He's definitely playing a character. He's playing kind of a gangster character. He ends up he shoots people in his video. There's a lot of imagery here. We're going to talk about it in a little bit, like what is he saying with this video. But I'll just tell you, first of all, who Donald Glover is so you know who we're talking about. First of all, he's won a lot of Grammys for his music, but his music is kind of a side thing. He's primarily a writer. He started out as a comedy writer, kind of discovered by Tina Fey and put on as a writer on 30 Rock. And then he was an actor-writer on Community, which is a hugely popular show that I've never watched. So I really knew nothing about this guy before this video. I mean, I've seen him around, but I haven't been really paying attention to him. And now he does his own show on FX. He writes, directs, acts, and does the music for this new show called Atlanta. And that show's won a bunch of Emmys. I think some Golden Globes. And so, yeah, he also has this big musical career. He's one of these guys who can kind of do everything.
Hey, he's going to be Lando Calrissian in the new Solo Star Wars.
That's right. He's Lando Calrissian, and he's going to be Simba in the new Lion King. So this guy is really, really talented. I think he's going to make a great Lando Calrissian. In fact, I would rather see a movie about Lando Calrissian than Han Solo with the new Han Solo, the actor that they've got playing that guy. Mm-hmm. I think Donald Glover is very, very interesting. Very interesting guy. Anyway, the video it starts out with these sort of nice beats and this kind of choral music, and then he shoots somebody in the head and it kind of goes into rap, some rap, hip-hop kind of more stuff. And he's got some incredible dance moves in this video. The choreography and him himself, his actual dance moves that for me was the standout. Like, I didn't even notice people were being shot. I'm just like, oh my God, boy can dance.
But hold on, Sonny. Hold on. I think you're underselling this a little bit. it starts off as a very kind of calm, interesting, typical hip hop thing, and he shoots someone in the head in a very graphic and violent and awful and shocking way.
It's
it's
shocking.
not just he just shoots. He like blows his brains out.
Yes, it's
So
point
it's
blank
like, whoa.
range. Blow his brains out. Definitely, it's shocking, and the music shifts in that moment too. So the whole thing is designed to kind of, it's very alarming, and then he's kind of doing. He's dancing the whole, and then he's dancing away from it, and these children in kind of private school uniforms are dancing with him, and then this choir comes on, this religious choir, and the music gets kind of nice again and calming. Gospel. And then he takes a machine gun and shoots the choir, and then it goes into hip hop rapping again, and he's moving through this big warehouse at the time, and behind him this whole time there are all these crimes being committed and cars that are kind of junk heaped and half vandalized, and behind him is all this mess, and he's chanting, this is America, this is America. So he's obviously making a comment on America and American society. What is he saying? What is his point? I don't think he's really making a point. He probably has some idea of what the point is that he's making, but he doesn't really make a point with his video. What do you guys think?
Oh, I think he's absolutely making a point.
What's his point?
He's making a point that, first of all, you have to say, like, I was reading reviews of this after I watched it, and there are people that have watched it 10 times and say they're still seeing imagery and symbolism in the background. You really have to kind of watch this a million times.
I
see,
agree.
like, all.
It's being.
Hold on.
Okay.
There's a million things going on in this video. It's very. I'll give the guy credit. It's incredibly artistic. There's a ton of symbolism.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot going on. It's easy to be distracted. One of his points is, I think, that it's easy to be distracted. He's doing this amazing dancing, and it's fantastic dancing, and the music at times is happy and jubilant.
Yes.
And there's some really ugly, awful things going on in the background. So, I think one interpretation is that, here's this like black guy who's being used in a sense, and his happiness and jubilance is distracting and sort of masks the undertones that are going on really in America, gun violence and oppression or whatever he thinks it is. But so there's just a lot going on here, first of all. But I would say the thing that shocked me the most was that, or that he's trying to say, is that there's a hidden undercurrent of violence in America, and it's certainly a statement about guns and gun violence and out of control violence. And I would agree with you that he's not. I don't know that he's necessarily saying take away all the guns. He's just trying to probably very provocatively draw attention to, hey, all you love these little rap, these little hip hop rappy videos, and then he blows someone's head off. You gotta all, there's more to all this than that. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
I almost felt like it was. I felt like I was bringing my own ideology to this video. That's why I guess I'm saying I didn't really feel like he was saying anything. I agree with you that he's saying we're distracted and there's all this violence going on, but he doesn't make a statement on, or to me, he didn't make a definitive statement on why or what to do. And I saw it as almost like, there are times where he's saying, black man, get your money, black man, get your money. And he's sort of saying, is he saying, hey, black community, you're so focused on getting your money and you're not focused on like solving the problems in your, the gun violence in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Which to me is a very un-PC thing to say right now. The black people are blaming everybody but themselves for their problems. And I don't think he's making that statement. I feel like I'm bringing that to watching his video.
Well, he's the one who shoots. So he shoots the black choir. So it's not like he's got some white guy. Or I know there's cop representations in the background to represent police brutality, whatever that narrative is. But remember, like, he's the one who actually shoots these gospel people. So he's sort of like the main man who's the star of the show. And, he's the one who's doing the shooting. So I think you're right, Sonny. I think maybe he is affirming or admitting to some extent that he's profiting or getting his money, so to speak, like getting his stardom, while not admitting or kind of affirming the reality behind that. There's violence and awfulness and agony going on in these communities that's being ignored in that pursuit.
And I mean, hip hop culture is very much a get your money culture. There's no, it's very immoral. Use women, commit crimes. It's a thug culture kind of thing. And I don't know. I mean, I'm young enough that I remember when there was some rap. It was, pre Public Enemy, when there was rap that was more happy and dance rap, It wasn't all thug and violence and stuff. And it's really become cool to sort of be a victim and bitch, but then also be like, I'm awesome. I'm a pimp. I'm getting all this money because I got hoes and I'm smacking girls around, and I'm, it's just nasty. Mm-hmm. And it is a reflection of these poorer Black communities and what's going on in them, and it's not good. And he's from Atlanta, but he's from a working class Black family, so probably not the hood, but like the next level, the lower middle class, but still probably.
Was his dad in the Air Force?
He was born on a military base, but they lived in Atlanta, and then his dad was like a post office worker.
Oh, okay.
His family were Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, they were Jehovah's Witnesses.
And he was a middle class NYU graduate.
I would say lower middle class.
This is not a guy from the. Okay.
He's working class. He's got 2 working class parents, post office and daycare provider. That's not middle class.
It's middle class. Well, I don't know.
That's working class.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know there was a difference, but.
Yeah, there is, I think. But anyway, he's not from like a wealthy family, but he did go to NYU, got his degree there, probably on scholarship. And when you watch him talk, he's so intellectual and has more likes in his sentences than like Khloe Kardashian. Like, oh my God, like he's practically like talks like a Valley girl almost like.
Oh, wow.
He's kind of a hippie. So it's sort of weird how hippie-like and intellectual he is, and then he's got this video where he plays this really hardcore killer. I don't know. I just thought it was really interesting. He's a good actor. He's a really interesting guy. I actually liked the video. Did you guys like it?
I go ahead, Ash.
Oh, I was kind of like scared of it at first. I know that sounds weird, but I watched it a few more times, and I really like it too because there's so much going on. And there's, it is artsy, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think musically it's pretty provocative. It's musically really interesting, and it's a massive production. I mean, it's pretty amazing artistically and stylistically.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and you can think about this a lot.
The choreography is just amazing to me.
And I think the testament to me aesthetically of like any good art is that it can be appreciated on different levels, both stylistically and the subject matter. It can be interpreted different ways.
Yeah.
And this guy's definitely saying a lot.
He's definitely making people think, and there's so much analysis going on about this video, kind of over-analysis almost. And like I said, I think people are bringing their own ideology to it.
Yeah, definitely.
Like it's a statement on police brutality and how nasty and violent Americans are and our gun culture and so on. And I'm sitting there watching it going, he's making a statement about the Black community, among other things. I don't know. I don't think he's made a statement yet about what he meant by it. I think maybe he meant it to just be a little ambiguous, maybe.
I saw an interview from yesterday at the Met Gala, and he said he just wanted to create a good song. That's all he said.
Oh, that's bullshit. That's such bullshit.
Right. But
But think of the culture, the context from which this kind of music usually emerges, which is, like you said, Sonny, um, the holding up of gangsters and money grabbing and chicks
Yeah.
as hoes and kind of that whole hip hop culture, and that stuff seems really passe. And this thing is maybe a step way beyond that, and it's almost a parody of not a parody of that, because he's not really being that guy and then just sending it up. I mean,
It's commentary on it.
yeah, definitely that he's a guy, and he's got some of those trappings, and he's definitely got some of those influences, and yet here he is showing a totally different side to it. So I think this will have a big effect. There's good and bad in it. I mean, the thing that if people take away from this that, oh, guns are bad, what are we gonna do? Hopefully that's not his intention. And there's a lot of like SJW narratives probably in the background, the police brutality and gun violence and everything. And these are all true facts. I mean, this stuff is going on, but to the thing that bothered me is to make that uniquely American, that violence, racism,
Right.
whatever it is that he's concerned about. That's not uniquely American.
Head on over
in
to
fact.
Zimbabwe or
Yeah,
South Africa and
exactly.
tell me how violence is there compared to here.
Yeah, or anywhere in the world, pretty much. So
Yeah.
the fact that, and I know it will be taken that way by the SJW people.
Yeah.
They're going to see this as a commentary on violence, gun violence, American society, the American right, Trump, blah 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 blah. And if and I could see I don't think that's exactly what he was saying. I'm sure there's definitely elements of that. But I don't think that's exactly what he was saying. There's a lot more to it. But I know that they will take it that way, and I think that's sort of tragic, and it's stupid if it is, because that's not the essence of what America is at all. I mean, it's the essence of some people's experience of America, but it's not the essence of America writ large.
Do you think Donald Glover thinks that that's America? I mean, the song is "This Is America."
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think that's his experience and a lot of people's experience. This is what they think. This is what they see. These are the issues they're concerned about. And, he's holding a mirror up to it. And I really think that, I don't think he's saying this is what we do about it. But it's definitely true. And it's not unrealistic or bad to dramatize that experience that he's having. I mean, if you grow up in those areas, Sonny, you grew up in a bad neighborhood, and people that grow up in even worse neighborhoods, and violence is everywhere, and people are getting shot and killed left and right, and you don't have a parent, or your parents are gone, or drug dealing or being in a gang is really the only way to feel empowerment or to make a living. And this is real stuff that's going on. And there's causes to it, and you and I and others would disagree about the causes and the solutions.
Right.
So that to me is where things get tricky, because if you have the left-wing narrative, it's all about, government and government intervention and, more of the same causes that are creating these problems in the first place, like the fact that welfare incentivizes out of wedlock birth, and that it's a welfare is a form of dependence. And you and I would sit here and have a completely different take on how to solve this problem,
Right.
what the moral and political
It would
solutions
mostly
are.
be get government out of this shit, because I think black people seem to be doing a lot better before welfare and all that stuff. And
But some of it's moral too. It's not just, and you would agree with me too, Sonny, like it's not just obviously, just political and rights. I think black culture needs a whole kind of new set or re-examination or rebirth of values and value of human life,
Right.
value of their families.
Right.
and value of being intellectual and being intelligent and being successful. I mean, that's not exactly cool these days.
It's not cool. It's not just not cool. I mean, it is frowned upon. If you are a smart black person, a young, smart black person who's trying to learn something and be educated, you get called a sellout. Like you're selling out your own race because you want to be smart. It's considered a white thing to be educated. And that is devastating to that culture. And, obviously not all black people think that, but I had friends in high school who were teased and called sellout because they were getting good grades and because they weren't racist and were friendly with black people and white people. It's like, so
that's horrifying.
Yeah, it is. It's terrible. Imagine being black and growing up with that kind of pressure. And it's worse today than it was when I was young. When I was young, it was kind of fringe, and it was getting worse and worse as I went through high school. And toward the end of high school, it was getting pretty bad. And I think it's gotten worse since then, as this critical race theory stuff has seeped into the culture, this cultural Marxist critical race theory stuff. So yeah, I hope there's a change. I think it's interesting to see what's going on I think there are more black people than ever have kind of shifted over to being conservatives. And I think with the politics of that does come more values. Even if it's traditional Christian conservative values of family and marriage, and I think that's actually probably good for them. I used to worry, that when I was in high school, toward the end of high school, there was this big move toward becoming Muslims through the, Farrakhan organization.
Yeah.
And
Nation of Islam.
Yeah, I was seeing a lot of that in my high school. Kids were reading Malcolm X and were becoming Muslims and changing their names, and that's horrible because he's a racist. On the one hand, the men who get involved in that, they start wearing suits, they get married, they stay married, and so on. But so it's like this packaged in some values and like valuing yourself, but at the end of the day, it's fake because it's actually just violent and hateful. So
yeah, it's definitely not the solution.
It's not the
I'd
solution.
say Nation of Islam probably better than nihilism. On the scale, if we had to do a scale here, I'd say nihilism, Nation of Islam, Christian conservatism, Christian conservatism, and then the highest or best level would be objective value. But
you are seeing a lot more black conservatives, and then you have Kanye and things like that. There's definitely a shift going on, and this guy Donald Glover, I don't think he's a conservative, no way, but he's intellectual, he's successful, he's talented in that way, really talented, and I don't know, he's making some kind of statement. I'm not really sure what he's trying to say. Except,
Sonny, do you think that this is a question for you? I mean, with the Conway thing, I mean, the essence of what I'm getting from the Conway, did I just say Conway?
You said Conway. Yeah.
Nice. The Kanye thing is that he's really stressing and rebelling against people telling him what to think. Mm-hmm. That if you're black, you have to think this way. You have to have this set of politics. Right. And he's rebelling against that idea, and I think it's so refreshing to see not only like an artistic statement like
just
this,
independence,
independent thinking.
Yeah, I don't even care if you're a lefty. Just like think for yourself. Oh my God, I can't even imagine how stifling it would be to be a leftist today or a progressive. You can't think anything. I was watching this. A British comedian was talking about how the right is what, I'm not allowed to be for free speech. If I'm for free speech, I'm a right-wing extremist. He's like, what the hell is that? Mm-hmm. He's like, we're giving Tommy Robinson the claim to free speech. Like he's, and I actually like Tommy Robinson. I actually think he does deserve that claim and that cause. Primarily, he's anti-Muslim immigrant, but he's not even anti-Muslim because he grew up with Muslims. He's like, I'm not anti-Muslim. I mean, if you listen to him for 5 minutes, he's not anti-Muslim. He's anti this mass Muslim immigration into Britain that is changing his culture. And of course, he can see that law enforcement does not go after actual jihadis, actual terrorists, but instead puts him in prison for saying, hey, nobody's arresting jihadis. And then they put him in prison for saying that.
Right. Exactly.
So, I think he's actually totally right. And anyway, but I think it's interesting that people on the left, they can't even be for traditional liberal values of like free speech and civil rights and stuff. And if you're that, you're now labeled conservative. And not just conservative, great, but a Nazi, like, extreme right. And if the left has given up all reasonable positions to the right, they're going to lose. They're going to lose.
Yeah. That's right.
And that's what's starting to happen. So that's actually good news. Let them do it, right? I'm not going to complain about it. Speaking of black hypocrites, just kidding. Okay. There was a Met Gala. The theme of the Met Gala this year was Christianity, I think. I'm not really sure, but everybody was dressed like a medieval king, queen, or angel, or Kim Kardashian, by far the best costume. She was dressed as an icon. So she was dressed in a gold dress with a big jeweled cross on it. And she does. She looks like a statuette, and a gold statue. I thought that was genius, and I'm sure Kanye came up with that. But one of the dresses, so we've got some interesting dresses. What's her name? Rihanna dressed as the Pope with the Pope hat and everything.
Yeah, it's like really, you can see her cleavage, and it's a mini skirt, but she's got the Pope hat.
But she's wearing the Pope hat.
Nice.
And Katy Perry dressed as an angel with big angel wings, but I can't get past her butch haircut. I can't get past it. I'm just
pixie cut.
I hate it. It doesn't do anything for her. Some women look really cute in a pixie, but she doesn't. She just literally looks like a lesbian, which not that there's anything wrong with that, but.
So the theme is the Catholic Church.
Catholic Church, yeah, because it's all very Catholic. Nicki Minaj dresses as a cardinal. I kind of liked her outfit. That was kind of cool. Big red dress. Madonna was supposed to be dressed as a queen, but she just looks like a witch. She's wearing this black thing. Yeah. She's old. She's covered from neck to fucking toe. She just looks like a black witch. And there's this girl, Zendaya.
Is she wearing a monk costume?
What? Who?
She was wearing Madonna. Wasn't she wearing like a monk costume?
No, she was. She said, "I'm a queen. Look at her crown. She's wearing a crown."
Oh, Jesus!
But she looks like a witch, right? She doesn't look like a queen. My favorite dress isn't even very Catholic. It's Gisele Bündchen wore this silk gown that she looks like she's wearing poured gold. So pretty. So amazing. But I was going to talk about Zendaya, who I hate. I hate this person. I've never seen her act. She's a young it girl actress who has a huge fashion sense. So she changes her look every few months. I mean, she's got a really good fashion sense. So she's written about a lot, and in these fashion mags and stuff. But I hate her for what she did to the E! host, Juliana Rancic. Remember that, Ash?
No, what did she do?
So it was the big controversy that blew up the fashion police right after Joan Rivers died. And, fashion police used to be like, we can make fun of anybody in any way. And Joan Rivers ran it, and it was hilarious and sometimes inappropriate. And so what? That's just what it was. Like, if you're going to make fun of people and how they're dressed. And she's not taking down poor people. They're taking down celebrities, right? I mean, not that that's okay, but I thought Joan Rivers was hilarious. And she dies. And immediately after that, somebody writes a joke for Juliana Rancic, who'd been on E! forever. And it was at Zendaya's expense. She was wearing, at the time, very long dreads. And Juliana said something like, I can smell the weed from here, or something.
Yep.
And Zendaya decided that was racist because only black people have ever worn dreads, and it suggests that black people are always high on pot or something. I mean, I guess it was just a complete stretch. She just didn't like being criticized.
Yeah.
And Kathy Griffin, who was a co-host on the show, and Kelly Osbourne, who was a co-host on the show, they freaked out over how racist it was, and they quit. They quit the show. And it was this big controversy, and Juliana had to apologize. But since then, she has never been a prominent E person since then. Like, she's still there and everything, and they had to basically hide her for the next 6 months, and then they brought her kind of back. But it kind of dented her career, big dent in her career.
Yeah.
And she didn't do anything wrong. She read a joke that other people wrote for her that was pretty par for the course for Fashion Police, totally mild, totally appropriate. But Zendaya was offended, and so, one of these, don't make fun of my dreads, that's racist. It's like, girl, if you're going to wear it on the red carpet, get over yourself. So here she is. This is the fucking hypocrite part of it. Here she is at the Met Gala, dressed as Joan of Arc. So she's culturally appropriating my culture or French culture. She's dressed as Joan of Arc. She's even wearing a red wig, like, a white person's wig. In fact, if she's mixed, she's not fully black. If you didn't know she was black, you would see this picture of her and assume she's white because she's wearing a very white-haired wig. Her skin is light. She doesn't look black at all. And, I mean, get over it. I'm just so sick of her. I hate her so much. I can't even believe she dares to wear this after what she did.
So if you dressed in blackface and came, as Harriet Tubman or something like that, imagine the outcry.
How dare you?
Oh,
of course,
and she'd be leading that charge. I mean, that's like, I would not be complaining. She looks beautiful. I like Joan of Arc. Obviously, I think it's great to put her on a pedestal and talk about Joan of Arc. It's a nice hero to talk about. Not this girl. She doesn't get to do it because of that incident with her dreads. She does not get to do it.
Nice.
I hate her.
You told her.
If only people were listening to me. All right. But the larger thing about this Met Gala is, I was talking to Doug earlier. I'm like, I don't understand this. Like, they're dressed as Catholics. This is the Met, there's opera. It's very theatrical. I think everybody looks great. What is the worship, though, of this medieval time? They would never, ever do anything to glorify modern Christianity. They hate it so much. But the perfectly fine glorifying medieval Christianity. Mm-hmm. There's something there. I'm not really sure. Because they also like medieval Muslim culture. So they want to glorify that. They like to, Vogue likes to put people in hijabs in their magazine. Like, it's mysterious and amazing.
I kind of sense this
total
is less
female oppression. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I think it's every year they have a theme, and these themes range, different types of modernistic art styles to historic art genres or whatever, from like punk rock to Christian Dior, and this has been going on for 40 or 50 years. So this year it was called Heavenly Bodies, Fashion in the Catholic Imagination or something. So I don't know where that came from. Possibly, obviously there's a huge genre of, art history that deals with those kinds of images and that type of art. So I think it's kind of cool in a way.
I think it's cool too. I just like, I don't know. It's just like the left spends so much time, and including the arts, criticizing modern Christianity, but here worshiping medieval Christianity. I don't know. Maybe I'm
I don't think they
maybe I'm
separate
overanalyzing it.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think they probably see it as acceptable when you think about medieval Christianity, because I think they liken modern Christians to medieval Christians. I don't think they really make the distinction or understand that there's been a kind of a reformation. But I think it's justifiable for them to go medieval because then they're not on thin ice in terms of making fun of people today or creating any controversy.
Well, the costumes are fun, I will say.
Although if you're wearing a slinky Pope outfit, I imagine that might raise a few eyebrows in those.
All right. The other thing I wanted to tell you guys is there's some new comedy out there to watch. I'm going to put links in the YouTube notes. Dave Rubin had his stand-up. Dave Rubin is an interview host that the right kind of likes. He does serious interviews, kind of Larry King style, and he's become very popular. Apparently, he used to do stand-up. I don't know anything about his past career. He's often referred to as a comedian. I personally don't find him funny. When he makes jokes, they often fall flat. So when they describe him as a comedian, I think he's a little stiff to be a comedian. He's not super funny. He's not loose. And so his stand-up is now, he had a comeback where he did a stand-up at some comedy club, recorded it, put it out on his YouTube channel. I'll put the link in my YouTube notes. And you can go watch that and see how well he did. I only watched the first minute. I haven't watched the whole thing yet, but I was not impressed with it. But I do know how hard it is. I mean, here's what he did. This was, to me, like crazy. For his comedy comeback, he did an hour.
Wow.
That is insane. Jerry Seinfeld wouldn't do that. He'd have to work out his jokes for, a year before he had an hour. And Dave Rubin just got up and did an hour. That's insane. So you got to give him props for that, because that's risky as hell. The other comedy special that's out there is Owen Benjamin, who I guess is on the right. Now he's on the right. He didn't used to be a conservative comedian, but then on Twitter he said something about giving hormones to little kids that are like 3 years old to help them change to the other sex is immoral. And got totally attacked for that. And
wow.
Lost his burgeoning career on television and Comedy Central, lost his True TV gig, like all this stuff. He couldn't get booked into major venues, stuff like that. I mean, suddenly his comedy career was just over after this.
For saying
Twitter
that 3-year-olds should not undergo hormone sex changes at 3.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very controversial.
Yes, I know. I mean,
God.
It's insane. And anyway, he is a legit comedian. That's what he does. And he had a show in Philadelphia that he recorded and put out on Vimeo, and we will have the link to that. Next story is, do you guys remember there was this New York Attorney General who was getting together other states' attorneys general to go after the oil companies? I don't know if you remember that, but he was filing lawsuits against the oil companies for sponsoring a scientific report that was skeptical of global warming.
Yes.
So, you're not allowed to produce and release any information or evidence that supports the existence of your company.
That's de facto illegal or fraud.
Yeah, so the oil companies were being sued for this by this guy. And he was getting all these other, far left SJW, environmentalist, attorneys general to pile on board this lawsuit and go after these people. And I think they even went after an objectivist, Alex Epstein. Didn't one of them write to him?
Yeah.
And he wrote him back and said, fuck you or something?
Well, no, the Congress, didn't the Congress try and subpoena him?
Yeah, something like that.
Or no, the New York Attorney General, someone in this forum or this
related to this lawsuit.
They subpoenaed him.
And because
his response was "fuck you."
Yeah, right. So remember that guy? Well, Eric Schneiderman is his name, the New York Attorney General, and he's now been accused by 4 women of sexual abuse. And this isn't a hashtag Me Too. He slapped these women.
Did you read the article?
Yes, I read the article.
Oh my God!
He didn't just hit on these girls from a position of power or something. He was in a relationship with 3 of them and was physically abusing them while in that relationship.
Wow.
Sexually, physically abusing them and like slapping them while he was
Psychologically
having sex with
abusing them.
Psychologically abusing them, threatening them that if they
Threatening to kill
them, have them followed. I mean, just some crazy shit. So
Wow.
4 women, 3 were in a relationship with him, a consensual sexual relationship, but during that sex, he beat them up, basically. He choked them, slapped them, and they're all reporting the exact same thing. And then the 4th woman was a fairly prominent attorney in New York that he hit on, and she said no thanks, and he slapped her. He slapped her so hard, she had a mark the next day. And the New York, this all came out in an article, the New York Post, and they have seen the photo, they said, of her, the mark on her face after being slapped. So they've confirmed all of this. And even though I think only 2 of the 4 women would give their name for publication. So this is some serious shit. And now he's resigned. So
Right.
there you go.
One was a Sri Lankan who he referred to as his brown slave
Yeah.
and beat her until she called him master.
Yeah.
This is the New York
During
Attorney
sex.
General.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Nice guy.
he was an alcoholic. I mean,
Yeah.
violent, belligerent, drunk, doing Xanax and barbiturates and stuff. I mean, just totally out of control.
Right.
And this is the guy, and he was the guy that was also suing Trump University. Remember that? When
Oh,
Trump
no, I didn't
countersued
know
him?
that. I didn't
Yeah.
know that. Yeah. Creepy fucking power. It's like Wiener, It just kind of reminds me of Wiener, the stuff he was doing. And I'm sure this guy was married, right? So these are all also
So I left
extramarital
a
affairs.
post today. This is my idea for an SNL sketch if it was funny. Would be you have a liberal roundtable and you've got Charlie Rose, that black set that he got with the classic
Yeah.
PBS Charlie Rose set, and his guests are Harvey Weinstein, Anthony Weiner, this Schneiderman guy, Bill Clinton, and Matt Lauer. And the topic is the Republican war on women.
Right, exactly. That could just be a recurring character
guys-
because anytime the left is hypocritical, we could just trot these
Oh,
people
another
out.
thing about the Schneiderman guy, Sonny. Did you know that he was given an award recently by the feminist group for being some sort of like pro-choice guy?
Lovely.
Like this guy he's made his whole career. I mean, this is not just garden variety hypocrisy. He made his whole career on championing women. He was going to go after Weinstein. He's been lauded by feminist groups and given all sorts of awards.
It's always those guys too that end up. There's like a big front. These feminist men are always the ones who end up being the abusers or the rascals. Definitely. A feminist man, you got to watch out for them more than anybody, I'd say. All right. The surprisingly solid mathematical case for the tinfoil hat gun prepper. It's our next topic. This guy who is a flood insurance mathematician. So his whole job is to do the math to calculate flood risk for a particular area for the mortgage insurance industry. And he wrote an article on Medium saying there's a solid math case for prepping for a disaster. And that being like a, violent breakdown of society. And he backs that up with math.
Well, now we're all told that to think that way is just being a conspiracy theory wacko.
Right.
Right? And this guy's proven that this is totally reasonable and something you should do.
Yeah.
So what exactly should we do?
Buy guns, bullets, stock cans of food.
Do I need to go to Costco and get the prepper kit?
Billy
They
sticks.
have a prepper kit. Yeah. Stock up on Billy sticks for your dogs, Ashley, because it's almost over.
Okay, so Costco run.
Not just for her dogs.
What's
D-Day.
in the apocalypse kit at Costco, Ash?
I think it's like I don't know. I mean, it's supposed to last a family of 4 for a year.
You're kidding
But
me.
it's like the powdered
Is it
food.
paleo?
Paleo.
Doubt that.
How would I you know what, that actually made me a little nervous though, because as I saw that, I was thinking, you know what I don't have? My drugs. Like, I'm on immunosuppressant medication that does now seem to be working, and I'm like doing really well. My autoimmune condition is quiet, and this drug is a shot, but they only give enough to me. It's a serious drug, and it's really expensive, and so you get it one at a time as it's due. They ship it to me before I have to give the shot to myself, like the day before. And then the other one I'm on is an IV. So again, they don't last. Like, you get it right before and you give it to yourself, or you get it given to you at a hospital.
Well,
so
this is your way though of realizing your paleo dream would be being a real survivalist, right?
well,
Right.
but
Wouldn't that be true paleo?
I'm saying if the world falls apart, if I don't have this medicine, I'm dead. I'm dead. So it doesn't make any sense to get cans of food.
That's a good point.
I'll just die anyway. But if I
think
were
I'm
healthy, I would just get the gun and I'd have to learn how to hunt. I don't know how to hunt. Ashley, you know how to hunt, right?
No.
Your brother
brother
does.
Yeah. But I don't.
That's men's work.
Yeah, well, no, I'll go out and, practice shooting, but I don't really want to go stand in a deer stand for 8 hours.
That does seem boring.
Yeah, no, thank you.
You can't even play music or anything because you have to be super quiet.
Right.
Can't listen to podcasts.
No. I mean, if you had headphones, but you got to pay attention.
No, you have to pay attention. So what do they do out there for 8 hours?
Wait a second. You guys are contemplating a post-apocalyptic prepper world about having headphones for a podcast? I think you're you might want to think this through a little harder.
Okay, guys who go out and hunt right now, what do you do for that hours and hours and hours in a deer stand? What do you do? Is this like
Nothing.
an excuse
That's
to
why
be
it's
all
a
broke?
guy's dream.
Is this to be an excuse to be all Brokeback Mountain with each other?
Oh.
Is
No,
that what's
it's an
really happening?
No, you know what's not happening in the tree stand? Your wife is not nagging you.
That's so sexist.
It's true. Why do you think men want to go sit in a stand by themselves for 8 hours?
Silence.
Exactly.
Goddamn
Thank
peace
you.
and quiet.
See, women can't contemplate this because
I
they
could
want
not.
like 5 other women to chit chat with.
I would have to have a book or something. I could not sit there and stare into space for 8 hours.
Well, you don't stare. I mean, you're waiting for the animals. You're.
Please tell me you have a book with you. I just don't believe that you do nothing for 8 hours. Have you done this,
Well,
Doug?
not really, no. But I have guns and my friends hunt and stuff, so I'm not really into
I
it.
have guns and my friends hunt. I have guns, Doug. I have friends who hunt. I need more guns, though, obviously.
I feel I understand it more than, like someone who, maybe a girl who doesn't understand the male. Because I understand the attraction and the interest and the love of it. I just personally don't get into it. So maybe it's a little hypocritical, but I can relate to someone who just wants to be outside, sitting there and
But it's cold.
engaged in nature. And
Yeah,
I'd rather
I don't know.
fishing.
what's funny to me is that's more. It's sort of ironic to me that these liberal elite coastal environmentalist types, they look down their nose at the so-called redneck and flyover state people, and these people are way more naturalistic than those idiots. Sitting in a coffee shop in New York City, bitching about the environment or something. This is what it is. That's what being a naturalist is. It's sitting out there like hunting. It's gathering food. It's trying to build your own shelter. It's difficult.
It's really difficult. Really difficult. I think my significant other has gone out a few times deer hunting and always come back empty. So as long as I've known him, I think in the past he's had some success. But anyway, all right, I think I got to end the show, and I'm going to end it with a joke. So that's it for our show today. Next week we will have our friend on the show, historian Alexander Marriott. Thanks for all of you who hung out with us till the end. For staying until the end, I'm going to tell a joke in a minute. Don't forget to support the show at patreon.com/houseofsunny.com, where you can join the Sunny Elite. Ashley and I are working on some t-shirt ideas. That's going to be coming available soon, only to the Elite Squad. So get in there now. Thank you to all our current patrons. We couldn't keep doing it without you. Now for the joke. A doctor who treated a lady whose voice was very high-pitched gets a call a few days later. "Dr. Smith," said the woman in a deep voice, "I hate to say it, but I think you overdid it on the hormone pills." "Don't worry," the doctor assured her. "A deep voice is a natural development. It will only last a few days." "But I've also noticed hair on my chest," she said. "That's not unusual," says the doctor. She replied, "All the way down to my balls." Yep. All right. See you next week.
Thanks for listening to the House of Sunny podcast. Go check out Sunny on YouTube at her channel, House of Sunny. Everything Sunny does is fan-funded. And because she's likely to get kicked off and demonetized on every platform at some point, please support her over at patreon.com/House of Sunny. Become one of Sunny's elite squad and have access to behind-the-scenes footage, t-shirts, special events, and more.